What's up, Snowtrax Nation? I'm here in Sherbrooke, Quebec at Ski-Doo's Training Center, and I'm going to be joined by Robin Martel, Global Product Manager, and Pascal Vincent, Director of Global Product Strategy. And they're going to be answering some questions that we have, as well as some questions that you have about the hottest and most anticipated new sleds for model year 2024. On deck for this video is the 2024 Renegade lineup that is now in the Gen 5 platform. Let's get to it. Model year 24 really is an exciting year for Ski-Doo four-stroke buyers because they finally get a Gen 5 four-stroke. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about what is a Gen 5 four-stroke? What does that mean versus the Gen 4?
Yeah, so this is a great year for four-stroke riders, as you just mentioned. So basically, it's all the good stuff coming in for Gen 5, coming in with Renegade here on the four-stroke engines. And the biggest benefit, of course, for people that do nighttime riding, the thing that stands out is the lights. I mean, you're getting awesome lighting package here, probably one of the best in the industry. And also all the other good features that we brought in, that we saw with the 10.25 inch touchscreen display. Mm-hmm. Also acoustic paneling that's been added to improve the NVH of the vehicle. So on both sides of the vehicle, that's been reworked. Also the airbox has been reworked, and just the whole rider ergonomics that's been improved on this sled. And also, you know, it's really made for those long days on the trail. So yeah, this is really excited about Renegade model year 24.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about yet at all is the panel removal system on the Gen 5 is different than the Gen 4 as well. This is now basically toolless, or you can get the whole hood and everything off in a matter of seconds versus, you know, tens of minutes before.
Yeah, it's a big improvement. Super easy to work with. Whether we'd be looking at our oil levels and working on the clutch side or on the exhaust side, you know, it's super easy to take the panels off. Very intuitive, and like you said, no tools involved in doing that.
So let's talk about something that some people are a bit confused about this year, but I don't think they should be. It's way simpler than a lot of people are making it out to seem. But changing the naming structure. Now all four strokes are Renegades and all two strokes are MXZ. There's a really simple explanation behind that makes it make all kinds of sense. So what is that explanation? Why do that?
I can take this one. In fact, over the years, let's be honest, the difference between the Renegade and an MXZ was basically the track length, right? The 129 on MXZ and a 137 on Renegade. So we were overlapping that segment too heavily. So we decided to separate as much as possible and to tackle what customer wants when they're riding their specific Renegade or MXZ. And that's why we created that separation that Robin explained earlier. So MXZ, narrower body, Renegade, wider body. And it calls for 2-stroke on MXZ and 4-stroke on the Renegade. There's also one interesting element. We maintain the ride height of the Renegade, but we increase the ride height of the MXZ by 1 inch, 25 millimeters, in order to give more stroke, more suspension stroke, because the positioning of the MXZ is more, you know, active riding standing up in moguls and stuff like that. That's the closest machine we have to snowcross racing. Right. Whereas the Renegade is more, yes, it's still high performance. We still have X and XRS into it, but the goal is to have a, let's say, longer ride mentality on this one and have more amenities, more goodies, but still high performance product.
So to summarize and clarify things, let's say once and for all, but it's never once and for all. A Renegade is a 4-stroke and it is a 137. There is no questioning that, except for the one caveat, which is the Enduro, but yep. Let's leave that out for sake of simplicity. So Renegade is 137 4-stroke.
Yeah,
that's what it is. MXZ though is 2-stroke across the board. There's no exceptions there, yep. But it can be 129 or 137. So you're not losing your 137 MXZ. People don't need to panic that that's not around anymore. It still is. An 850 137 is still totally doable.
Yeah, exactly. The 137 Renegade that we have is now going to be 137 MXZ. So basically, you know, it's going to be the same thing. People aren't going to be losing anything, I should say. And like we were talking about, really specializing each sled for its you know, the need of those customers. So MXZ really aggressive riding, Renegade more long distance riding. So that's why we have the differences between the wide body and the narrow body, and also more wind protection on this model here. For example, with Renegade we have a little bit higher windshield, whereas on MXZ it's going to be a little bit shorter. The other difference is also, to really make that position crystal clear, is with regard to the riding position. MXZ riding is going to be more dynamic, more aggressive, more stand-up type riding, so the steering column is going to be a little bit more forward on the vehicle, whereas here on the Renegade model that we have, it's going to be a little bit more rearward for more comfortable doing a lot of kilometers during the same day.
And then the last change is that the seats are slightly different as well. But those are really the big three differences, would be your ride height, your steering post, and then the seat. And the body work is just a difference because it kind of has to be, but it also provides some benefit.
It's a matter of fact, well, we have a wider engine, right?
Yeah.
We have 3 cylinders versus 2, so it calls for a wider body.
So let's elaborate on that. What were the changes that had to be made to the Gen 5 platform to accommodate the 4-stroke motors?
Body works.
That's it.
Basically.
No chassis changes. It just drops right in.
Yep. That's a modularity that Ski-Doo developed over the years that calls for a suspension, an engine, and a tunnel, and you can play with those components like a Lego blocks.
Very simple, very straightforward. And
Seems simple.
not from your end, but from our end it is. So it's just body work. That's really it.
Exact. Yeah.
So talk to me about some of the models in each lineup. So you've got Renegade, but what are some of the models within the Renegade lineup? Because people are going to wonder, is my favorite model still there? And so just walk me through the lineup as it is.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that you'll notice when you look at the whole Ski-Doo lineup, and is looking at the different naming of the packages. So that's one thing that we've really paid attention to this year, simplified it, made it, let's say, streamlined it. So we really have a simple approach, you know, going with the entry-level packages with the Sport. So you'll have that in basically all the models. Then after that, with a little bit more premium features, then we're adding in the Adrenaline models. And then of course, as you get into the spring offering, we still have our X's and our XRS's that are there with more spring-only offered features that are there. So customers now can really know right away, you know, what they're getting in terms of packages, and also the equipment groups that we put on those packages.
So let's talk a little bit about lineup. So we've changed the naming structure, and I think there's going to be some people out there who are wondering, did you change anything else about the naming structure? But that's actually not the case.
No, exactly, and we tried to make things a little bit more simple for model year 24. And having an approach where, you know, it's a good, better, best approach. And then when we're looking at our entry-level lines, for example, we start off with the Neo packages, which are really for the new entrants. Then we're coming in with the Sport packages that you basically have in all models. So that's your starting point, you know, for people wanting to have a competitively priced snowmobile. And then as you move up the lineup, when you have your, let's say, more premium in-season offering, then we'll have the Adrenaline packages in there. And on those packages, you can have equipment groups that are going to be tagged onto those packages. So for example, the Blizzard equipment group or the Enduro equipment group. And then moving up the lineup, everybody knows our spring certificate models that are offered with the X's and the XRS's, and then you can get, of course, the equipment groups, like for example, the Expert package that's going to go on the Summits, Summit
Or
X
the competition
sleds.
package.
Or the competition package, that's exactly it. So it's super simple to understand, and yeah, that's one of the main differences that you'll see from last year to this year.
And does the 2-stroke and 4-stroke lineups, do they mirror each other exactly in that way?
They do mirror each other. It's the same naming, and it's all across the board. And of course, you'll see some small differences, but all the performance-oriented sleds all have the same type of naming. So whether you'd be in Backcountry, in Renegade, in MXZ, in the Summits, it's all the same thing. Then when we get into, let's say, the more leisure-oriented sleds, the only thing that changes there is with regard to the naming of the packages. Instead of being the Adrenaline, it's going to be the LE. And then the spring is going to be the SE, because there's no XRS Grand Touring, for example.
Maybe there should be. Now, that does make things seem a lot more simple, and it really does. And over the years, we've talked about this at intros and at meetings we've had about how the industry naming structures are getting so complicated. It really is hard, but I think that this is easier to understand than it's ever been, and I think that once people kind of wrap their head around it, it's gonna be the same for them. So the last thing I want to talk about before we end this is a new accessory that you guys have come up with this year that I think is genius. I can't believe that nobody else has come up with it before. We have talked about the exact same idea internally for years, but we're not inventors. Tell me about your new handguards and why they make riding safer.
Well, those handguards are crazy cool. So in fact, there's 4 color modes, okay? There's white, amber, there's green, and there's amber flashing. Let me explain. So let's say you're riding by yourself. You can just put it in white mode. So the 2 sides of the handguards will be white, that's fine. But we're riding all 3 together, okay? So I'm leading, I will put my left side amber, so I'll switch it to amber. You will put it to amber as a second, and Robin will be the last one with green. It avoid, all of those signs, 2 up, 3 people, whatever people. You are keeping your 2 hands on your handlebar all the time. And let's say you want to stop by the trail during night. Well, there's a hazard mode, then it's flashing. The two handguards are flashing in amber mode, for example. So super simple installation, but very, very, very safe product.
Again, how have we not done this yet? Why? Why is this taking so long? It makes so much sense, and it's so interesting for safety. I like the hazard mode. I like everything about it, and I can't wait to get some for our press units this coming year, because we're gonna make use of that. But we might have to buy a whole bunch of extras and throw them on everybody else's press units too, right? All right. Thank you guys. This has been great. Thank you guys for watching. Keep in mind that this is just one of 4 different virtual hangout sessions that we've put together, and you don't want to miss any of them, because we are going in depth on all the new model year 24 features and new sleds from Ski-Doo. So make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything.